AudioLab, devlog number 10. You know, I sure didn't expect to spend most of my year writing this program, but that's the way it went, and I'm going to keep writing that momentum as long as I can. So, the things I focused on since last time were, there's a whole new screen in this program that, oh, it didn't have focus. Okay, that's why my keystrokes aren't going through. I added a whole new screen. This is a general purpose audio editor. And it's not extremely finished, but I can actually import these and it'll synthesize them and put the waveform here let's do this silly thing. So there's that. Here's a waveform, and I don't have a lot of editing operations yet, but I can select, I can play a region, I can delete. So like this is what the whole sound sounds like now. I can delete more. I can cut, I can paste. I can make a mess. So this screen actually started out not as an audio editor, but its purpose was to be... okay, I had to stop and think about how to phrase this, because apparently I'm not extremely clear on what the purpose of the screen was supposed to be originally. This was going to be for analysis. Right, so I had that padlock sound. Let's actually load that one, the real thing. Projects, Foresight Fight, resources. Yeah, so last time I talked about this whole thing where I tried to reproduce this padlock open sound with my synthesizer and didn't get very far. I had a pretty bad approximation of it. Do I still have that thing around? No, I removed it from this computer. Why did I do that? Okay, well, anyway, you heard it last time. Here's the real thing. So this is an actual recorded real padlock opening, slowed down to 25% speed, then overlaid with VFX or synthesized sounds. Ooh. There's a little click at the end there. Ooh, that's fun. I think I know exactly why that is. Okay, got a bug to fix. I think this is playing one single frame of uninitialized memory at the end. It's interpreting my sample as like inclusive instead of exclusive, or my selection rather. Anyway, yeah. So by the way, this waveform view here, this is the same UI object as on all these other screens, and now these have all the niceties of that one that I added. Yeah. So I made a nice fancy thingy for selecting and doing things in waveforms. So I can select a sub-region of any audio here, play just that region, or play to the end, pause, and continue playing. Zooming works and everything. I can drag these around if the mouse is close. I can move the whole selection. All sorts of stuff. So anyway, in terms of like audio editing, yeah, so just having something generally for opening any arbitrary audio file, which... You know, this supports a limited number of formats for my purposes, but, you know, all the ones that I need, just for editing, for viewing waveforms is actually pretty useful for pointing out stuff. And yeah, so I wanted to use this for analysis, like open up this recorded thing and figure out how I would make my synthesizer reproduce something like this. I actually have a better example that I can load up here. Let's talk about this thing. So, if you watched my Explorer Let's Play, those sounds will sound familiar. I had shown before, there's the screen, this attempt at reproducing the zap recharger. It's not really the same. So that's the real thing. This is my reproduction. Okay, so the first problem with this is all of the on pulses, the you know, when the sound is active, are the same length, and in this one it audibly speeds up. So this is okay. Sure, I can actually measure this since I'm here. This is approximately 0.05 seconds long. or 2343 frames at, I believe this is a 44 kilohertz file. Oh, I need to change this. I keep clicking, then expecting the zoom to center on where the cursor is rather than where the rollover is. You know what? Check it out. I would do that right now. Let's make a change. I've wanted that enough times that I'm just going to do it. So this should probably be a preference in the real program. Waveform view. I already had it open. Scroll wheel. Whoa. How does... Hang on, zoom view. Okay, here we go, zoom view. Zoom view is right here. Focal frame index. Scroll offset x plus focal point x. Oh, wait, but that's showing... Ah, dang it, this isn't as trivial as I thought. No, this is actually using the coordinate of the mouse instead of a frame index. That's fine, I can fix this. All right, now that I've started, I have to finish. Let's do it here. So if the preference is one way, then I'll use the mouse position as the thing that I'm zooming into. Right, so what I'm talking about is like, if I click my cursor here, then I place my mouse cursor over here. It's zooming in on the cursor and keeping that exactly at the center, instead of this other thing that I want. Okay, so once I have a preferences screen, this will be one way of doing it. Then the other way would be I have to do some math here because the selection here is kept in frames. So for that, it'll be whatever calculation I use for drawing a frame in the bounds. Okay, so for example, if I'm drawing the mouse rollover, then that's this calculation. Okay, that's fine. X minus bounds dot left. Okay, so this is bounds dot left plus bounds dot right minus bounds left times. If it's x minus bounds dot left, then I don't want the bounds included, so I just remove this. That doesn't sound right. No, it's... Oh geez, coordinate math. Not the easiest thing to do on the spot. What does this expect exactly? This expects a position from like where this is 0 and this is whatever the pixel width of this whole object is. Bounds at left plus right minus left times rollover frame times zoom, which is actually that because of the way zoom level is stored divided by audio frame count minus scroll offset x. Yeah, okay, so here's that minus scroll offset x. Yes, so that takes care of the part that I was worried about. Okay, let's see if this works. Oh. It's bothering me enough. And you know, sometimes it's fun to fix things right in here. So did that do it? So I'm going to put my cursor here and then zoom in. No, it sure didn't. It's doing the exact same thing as... What the heck? Why did that change nothing? That's weird. Okay, of course, I did the same thing, but I did it via a different route. Is it still rollover frame? What I want here is selection cursor frame. That's the IVAR that contains the thing I do want to zoom in on. So this should fix it. Yeah, so I just proved that the algorithm is correct. I just had the wrong target. So I put this here, I put this here, I zoom in, and there we go. Now it keeps that in frame. Nice. Okay, yes, I think ultimately that is how I want this to work. Sometimes I'll have a preference for one way or the other. Anyway, where was I? That was nice. Feels good to actually be able to fix things when I need to fix things. So I was at Explorer Sounds, right. Fountain, Zap Recharger. So, and in this screen I had Zap Recharger.stem audio loaded. For one thing, that's a lot louder. I can change that. All right, that's close enough. This also rests at, this might actually be maximum. I think this file, anyway, yeah, not like actual maximum audio, but like high, instead of resting at the 0 point. That doesn't make much of a difference to how this sounds. It'll be a slight bit of difference at the transition point here. Anyway, so right, what I was saying is that the width of this is 0.794 seconds. Then if I just drag you over, all right, I can do it this way and compare. This is obviously much narrower. So that's approximately 0.532 seconds. So I had also made this alternate where I used a property controller, a couple of them, to ramp the duration of the, right, I had to do both the amplitude envelope and the stair step, so they both had to speed up over time. So again, this is a, let's see how close that sounds. So there's a couple of things about this. This was, none of this was measured precisely. It was just approximated, done by ear, more or less. And the other thing is, like, this is not a perfect square wave. It has this, like, weird dirty sound to it that I kind of really like, and I don't know how to reproduce. This is just clean and hollow, you know. There's none of that extra up down in here. But this has all this, like, what is? Oh, geez. Now I want my zoom to be the other way around. Maybe I should have like a modifier key for it. Like, all this stuff. There's a bunch of, like, it bounces around a little bit as it goes up and down, and, like, even when it's staying stable, there's something going on. So right, the idea with this screen is I'd be able to load these waveforms in, take a look at them with stuff like, I should have a vertical zoom here so I can really see what kind of details are in here, these little 1 pixel ups and downs. Currently I don't, but I should. Anyway, so what I could do here to be a little more precise is I have, this UI down here is not great, but it is something. Let's have this snap to falling 0. So now I can select by, right, yeah, the selection just looks for a sample where the previous one is above the 0 line and the next one is below it, pretty much, and just tries to, if the cursor is reasonably close to one of those, it magnetizes to it. Why is my, ooh, how far is it looking? I can change the sensitivity with this unlabeled slider here, but it looks like it's looking like forever. Whoa, why is this? I am surprised. I should be able to, like, if it doesn't find anything. Oh, okay, I know what's going on here. Kind of. Like, the snap is just failing to find anything at all, and therefore it's... No, but it's clearly looking that far out. Huh, I got a weird bug here. Okay, well, that's something for me to fix. Anyway, yeah, so I can snap to falling 0, I can snap to rising 0. Kind of the same thing, just depends on how you want to measure. I can snap to peak. See, this doesn't really have proper peaks because it's a square wave. This would work better with like a sine wave or something. Okay, let's load one of those. I can just do like here, bass drum has one. Yeah, okay, it's not super obvious that it's doing it, but you know, it's magnetizing a little bit. it's being a little weird about it. Okay, I know why that is. And I know how to fix it. Okay, so a couple of these things are not behaving properly. What's happening here is this slider controls the amount of space around itself that it looks, and when I'm snapping to peak, it just looks for the maximum sample. And this is not actually a peak, this is a rising curve. So peak needs to be like the edge ones and actually have something on the left and right that's lower or equal. Yeah, it should not snap if it's maybe still going in the same direction, even if that's beyond where I'm looking. Okay, so I'll fix that. And valley, same sort of thing, just magnetizes to that. Anyway, so the point of doing all that was so that I could, for example, take this and measure with, let's say, falling 0. So I have the number of frames I have selected, the number of seconds I have selected, and also offset from the beginning of the file. And what Hertz value would be for if this is the selection of one wave period. So if I had take this Hertz value, and deselect the field, and go over here, and make this the base value for you. Yeah, see, this is too low. This is supposed to actually be that. That's more accurate now, but now the rest needs to be offset. But this first part should match you now. Oop, unsnap. It's almost hard to tell because this one's so much dirtier. I want to get that dirtiness somehow. I like it. It sounds good. So yeah, so that's the kind of measurement I'm talking about. Like if I want to get the exact frequency of something, I showed this other thing with the overlay when I fixed up my one menu sound for Foresight Fight, which was like siloed. You had menu, okay, or menu direction, let's say, and then I'd have an overlay for menu reorder, for example. And if I want those frequencies to match, I can do it visually with this, and that's the point where they do. Anyway, so yeah, this is another way to kind of do that, but differently. Whoa, this is not moving. Ooh, did this thing happen where my mouse move events stop working? Does that have to do with like opening a file dialog or something? Ooh, it's the right click. Aha! I tracked down this bug. Okay, so when I right click on a waveform, I know what this is. Yeah, so here we go. Good. I hadn't figured out what that bug was about. So now I don't have mouse move events. I'm going to right click again just anywhere, and then that fixes it. Because when I right click down and that opens a file dialog, then the right click up event goes to the dialog and doesn't get to my code. Okay, got it. All right, so I'm pretty sure I know what's going on with that. So I'll figure out how to fix. That's not going to be a trivial one. Okay, so right, the other thing would be for measuring, like, let's say pulse width. Okay, so this is going to be, I'll have to start on a falling 0 here, and then go to a rising 0 on this end. So the width of that is this many seconds. So that would match then your... Here, let's load up this one that doesn't change pulse width and stuff, just for it to be simpler. So if you're... I think it's the sustain? Yeah. See, now that's interfering with the stair step, which I've just sort of set up to happen to line up with the pulses, the amplitude envelope. These two graphs. Oh, I need a way to overlay these two so I can line that up again visually, like with the this thing I was doing over here that broke my mouse events. Yeah, okay. I should have an overlay so that I can mess with, you know, whatever I need to mess with so that these two line up. I guess I have like one pulse too few or something. Oh, it's not release, it's rest. One more. Yeah, so that should be the correct amount of that. And then if I change this to falling 0, I can measure the rest. So that's the first on and off period, right? So that's 0.404. Rest would be this. You're so loud. Be less. Then if the stair step were... why am I doing this? Well, that kind of worked. Let's just make the length more. How many is it? This many? Wait, but then the duration is... Anyway, this is a messy process. I want a better way to do what I'm doing here. Anyway, yeah, so that's what this is working toward. So another aspect of this is I'd like to be able to do some direct overlay and diffing. So kind of like what I did with this menu sound thing. Here, let me load up the overlay, and then I'll right-click just somewhere to get that fixed. This right-click menu does not... right-click menu, this dialog that pops up when I right-click, does not remember the last file that I had selected. Anyway, yeah, so like I have this overlay here. Right-click, there we go, mouse events fixed. But I can't hear like what the interference pattern is. Like for example, if I lined these up and then wanted to know like, do I have it perfectly? Like, do I hear silence if I play these two subtracted with each other? I can't do that by ear right now. I don't have a way to... And I'd like to also be able to just subtract one waveform from another and put it in the audio editor here so I can like zoom in and see where the exact differences are. You know, audio analysis stuff. It's useful to be able to do this. I want... Right, okay. So let's say I would load Zap Recharger and right-click load Zap Recharger 2. And then I turn on diff and play. So you hear nothing at the beginning because these two line up exactly. That's playing both at once with one of them inverted. What I can't do currently is like copy out of this and put it in the audio editor and examine what it would look like with those two subtracted. But at least I can play. That gets real loud when the two are not canceling each other out. Right, so double volume in some of these places. Anyway, yeah, so whole bunch of tools just for analysis and recreation of things. So, oh, right, my right-click thing, right-click here, there we go. So what this is all going toward is me being able to load up a recording of an instrument or something of the like, and just have more tools at my disposal to help me figure out how to synthesize that instrument, like what fundamental frequencies make it up. This is not to the point where it's going to help me much with that unless the whatever I'm analyzing is, well, computer generated probably, you know, this sort of thing. But at least this is useful for that. This is getting toward where I want to be with that. Anyway, yeah, so let's see. Anything else I want to talk about in the audio editor right now? Can export in Wave and Aug, can load Wave, Aug, SFXer, BFXer, and audio synth files. Maybe even can I load a music file? Oops, that's the wrong. I don't want to do that. I want to load samples. No, I can't currently load a music file. I should change it so that it can. It should be able to. Anyway, so that was one of the things I did. Anything else to say about that? Not a whole lot. Let's cut this out. I guess to do that I would go this way, select all, delete, go here, select all in the other direction, delete, save as, let's say, wave. The real zaprecharger.wave. That nice dirty one. Oh, hey, I could subtract this from my my attempt. Let's see how those look. So first of all, you be quieter. Yes, shh. Don't play on parameter change. So I'm going to put you as my overlay. Where are you? Oh no, it did not export. No, it didn't. Oops, I forgot. This doesn't actually write files. Oh, or wait, yes it does. Yes, I clicked export wave. It should export. It won't save it. Does this not? Wait, what's my export? Or what's my directory? AudioLab, trunk. There it is. Realwa.wave. What the heck? Is this confused about its... How did that extra WA get in there? Anyway, it wrote the file now. It seemed like it didn't the first time, and I wonder why. Okay, I'll have to take a closer look at exactly what I did. Anyway, so right-click, zap recharger, realwa.wave. Okay, see, it sounds kind of close. The overlay tells me I'm kind of close. Like, look, those are sort of matching. Again, my 0 point is 0. My 2GS emulator 0 point is higher. I just happened to line up real well here, but I know there's a little bit of silence at the start of this that shouldn't be there. So technically what I ought to do is go to my tracks window and offset this a little bit until it starts at the same point, which I guess would be like... Oh, okay, I go up first instead of down. Okay, well, check it out. I have a fix for that. Watch this. There we go. Now it goes down instead of up first. Okay, so then if I would take this... I can't go precisely enough for this, but anyway, that's approximately how I would want to overlay those. So I'm going for like 1 cycle too many on this first one, then my rest period is too great. Okay, yeah, let's try and tweak this. If I just gently slide this over. Now hang on, why is that? Okay, right, that's the amplitude envelope. But the frequency is not a match. So then the change for the first step needs to be... No, that's not right. Oh, shoot. Well, I've made a mess. How well does this first bit subtract? It kind of does. See, that doesn't sound like a square wave anymore. It just sounds like the dirtiness. So that's sort of, yeah, so that was one of the things I wanted to do with this. I wanted to isolate the dirtiness of the 2GS version of this and figure out, like, why it sounds that way. Which I guess would just mean, like, you know, moving this top part down to the center, this bottom part. Wait, why didn't that... Oh, my mouse events are broken again. No, I don't want to... Wait, why is... Okay, there we go. Everything's confused. Move this part up to the center, etc. Anyway, so I guess actually most of what I was hearing there was probably these parts where it doesn't quite... Yeah, this is not... This particular square wave doesn't... For one thing, I just don't have the resolution to do this. I need an even slower offset on this. Can I be more gentle about... No, not really. Anyway, okay, so I need more precise controls for one thing. Anyway, yeah, so playing around with that stuff. So now that I have this, there's another thing I implemented here. Let's just reset everything. Since one of my focuses was kind of just on like using real audio data for stuff, I added this PCM data wave sampler, so I can load up an actual sound file, any one that I want. And this is now just being used as the waveform for all sampling, just like any other wave sampler I'd put in here, you know. If I copy this, right, it puts that entire waveform on the clipboard, doesn't it? It does. It remembers it and stuff. So this is a little weird. Let's just have this play. I can zoom into this waveform too. Let's just have this play that portion. Something like that. And loop. There we go. So now I've kind of made a dirty waveform. If I tweak this a little bit, it'll probably get... Oh, what is... Oh, is my... Why is... Oh, I'm hitting the scroll bar that I can't see very well because it's so dim. So I need to aim a little higher. Ooh, that's a problem. This scroll bar just doesn't fit very well here. There we go. I can't hear the transition point too clearly. So I have a dirty waveform there now. If I turn up the amplitude a little bit. Sure. There we go. So yeah, that's just using any arbitrary audio data from disk. Repeating if you want as the whatever. You know, I can change the pitch and stuff as you'd expect. Just resamples it as appropriate. So yeah, that's a thing that I definitely needed. This has made me think a lot about, there are a lot of things that don't make sense the same way with the synthesizer if I'm actually using sampled audio data from disk. Like for example, controlling the length with this does not make sense when I'm in this situation. Oh, right. Or does it? I don't know, it kind of does. But it'd be nice to be able to like set the length of the amplitude envelope to match up with where the PCM audio would end. I don't know, that's something that I haven't figured out yet. Things get weird when I do it this way. But you know, I can import whatever audio data I want and include it with my synthesis here now, and that's nice. Okay, so anyway, another thing I mentioned last time that one of the big UI features I needed to implement was undo. Like any action I make, like for example, I move this slider. When I release the mouse button, this should add a thing in memory where I can press Control-Z, and the length slider would go back to where it was. That's not implemented here on this screen. I started a little bit smaller. Here on this screen it works. So let's say I would reset this, and move the bass freak, and move the freak ramp, and then press Control-Z. There we go. Goes backward, Control-Y, or Control-Shift-Z if you prefer. Steps forward and back in time. You know, very basic undo. Not so basic on the inside. So what I have here actually is a generalized implementation of a state tree of sorts, where like whenever a difference in state is created by, for example, like the state I'm recording is this list of numbers. I have a system where I can append a node to that tree, which will do a diff with the previous node and say, okay, I see that this number has changed from 0 to negative 0.18. So that's the difference I'm going to encode. And then if I want to revert that, you know, it changes back to 0. If I want to reapply it, it changes back to negative 0.18. And then that's all stored in a tree structure, which can have branches, because a lot of times in productivity applications, I've thought about, like, if I do some changes, then I want to undo back and do some more changes, and wait, where was I a moment ago before I undid and messed with some more stuff? Because like the state that used to exist before I undid to this point is erased by this action. But I made a system where it doesn't have to be that way, so it can actually be a branching tree. I'm talking about this, and unfortunately I can't actually show it because branching through multiple timelines isn't quite implemented here, but I'm still thinking about how to do it. I have the code inside that can. I'm thinking like if I do like Control-Shift-Y, maybe I can switch timelines. I don't know how to like visually represent that. Okay, that beeps when I try to undo or redo past the point where I was. But anyway, the code inside can handle it, and I think that's super cool. So what turned out to be the real complicated part of this was the delta encoding. So, a list of floating point numbers, comparing two fixed size lists of those and saying, okay, so this number changed, or, these three numbers changed, and I know how to encode that and revert it. That was simple enough. But sure, on this sequencer screen, there's a lot of different pieces of data that can change. Big, complicated structure. Same on this one. I could change this number. I could change the type of this. I could go in here and, add a controller or delete a controller. And it would need to encode the full state of that controller if I deleted it so it can bring it back exactly as it was. And it's complicated. It's a programming challenge that is turning out to be more fun than I expected. I said I didn't want to implement and do, but once I got into it, it was neat. But yeah, so I have it here on the SFXer screen just to make sure the system works at all. Right, that went all the way back to where I loaded the file. It resets on load. Yeah, just on load, actually. Even if I reset, I can undo a reset. Yeah, init and load. And I have it here. I can delete this, I can delete this, I can cut this, I can paste here, I can delete some of that. Let's hear what I ended up with. A big mess, then I can undo. I can undo all the way. Well. I crashed it. Okay, so my delta encoding there is not perfect. I saw that memory garbage coming up at the end. All right, yeah. So when manipulating memory at a low level like that, it's bugs like that are bound to pop up. I thought I'd fixed them, but it turns out that one's not fixed. Anyway, so that was fun. I wish I could have heard what that sounded like. It'd be this unpleasant high-pitched squealing, but sometimes that's fun to listen to. Just to hear what kind of garbage was in memory. Anyway, so that's undo. What else is on my list? Not a whole lot. I have an application icon now, so that's nice. It doesn't show up in the window title bar for some reason. I have this problem in Foresight Fight too, so it's just something with some Windows API thing I need to figure out. The third thing that I did, yeah, so number one was this audio editor screen. Number two was an undo system. Number three, I wanted to write another piece of music. I mentioned last time that I had done that before and just completely hated the results. So I wrote one now that I don't hate. I think it's a lot better. Yeah, maybe I'll be able to salvage this somehow. I don't want to play it because I don't like the way it sounds. So we've heard this before, that thing. And I'm real happy with how this came out. What I ended up with was something structurally very similar. It even looks kind of similar here. But just, starting from that same kind of seed of some kind of steady rhythm here in this channel, then adding other stuff on as made sense, resulted in this composition. yeah, pretty happy with how that came out. I think ultimately I liked the previous one a little more, what I'm calling Composition 3, but I'm real happy with a lot of parts of this. So yeah, again, very similar structure. You know, I started with kind of a repetitive, what do you even call this? You know, the backing track, something. I don't know music terms, but whatever this is. I set this down, then made a variation of it, and then just figured out, like, what other instruments could go with that. That's just a simple square wave. Play on square wave. Sounds pretty nice in some cases. Didn't have to do anything extra with that. I just liked the way it sounded as it was. What's this? Right, the bass. And then the other bass patterns, etc. Whoa. Someday I'm going to have a better visualizer for, like, while you're playing, showing, like, the upcoming notes and how they, you know, you can imagine. I can imagine. I'll show it when it's there. So which instrument is this? This is 2. What are you? You're a triangle wave with harmonics, 3 of them, with that almost 1 spacing that creates that nice sound, and some distortion. Okay, cool. And yeah, that makes a real nice sound. I keep pressing the wrong key here. And then this other sound here. Not a whole lot to that melody, but I think it's pretty effective. Is that instrument number 3? It is. If this pattern has only 1 instrument in it, I should change this menu to that instrument. Or just automatically change all these to whatever the first note is, maybe. That might make sense. That'd work better for my workflow. All right, so what are you? I guess that's a little different from... hang on. Okay, 2. Yeah, okay, those are different. This one has a much sharper attack on it. Are you a... You're a sine wave with harmonics and distortion. Looks pretty familiar, but, you know, different settings. Has a different result. And then the drums. The drums were interesting. I noticed that in Composition 3, I should name these things, but, you know, the that one that I did, the drum sample, sure, the drum synth settings that I used kind of just disappeared on some speakers, like my laptop's internal speakers just could not play. That's not the right sound. I guess the drum track is this one. Yeah, so that is a sine wave pitched down. So I wanted something that would be a little crunchier and more audible in more situations. Like if I have this big cacophony kind of covering it up here, but it still comes through, and that's because the drum is actually a sawtooth wave. Well, kinda a sawtooth wave with a slightly modified incline. So yeah, basically just like that sine wave, pitched down same sort of way, but different. Yeah, you can go real aggressive with that. I don't like what it does as it really pitches down there, but if I incline it just a little bit, it gets that nice... It's almost like a distorted sine wave. Like that's another reasonable option here, I think. If I would add a distortion modifier, what would you sound like? No, that's completely different. Anyway, yeah, just playing with different effects, seeing what kind of sounds can be made. I think this is nice for the place where I'm using it. Anyway, yeah, so happy with that composition. I made some minor changes to this, like I added these numbers here so I can tell by more than just the color which beat I'm in. Why are you yellow? Oh, because these are different values. That's marking that between my selections, the values are not all the same. Wait, oh right, I have multiple selections because it doesn't fit at that zoom level, of course. Anyway, yeah, so made fewer changes to this screen than I expected. I basically went through the same process for this as I did for Composition 3. It took a lot longer. I was kind of just noodling around on this every once in a while throughout the last several weeks just to get it into shape, but I'm happy that I finally did. Yeah, so pretty happy with that output. Still like the other one a little better, but this one's good, I think. Guess we're learning what my musical style is. I have no idea how to compose something on purpose. It's always by accident when I do it. I don't even know what a chord progression is. Like that's no, I haven't even used a single chord here. This is all just single notes. Someday I'll figure those out. Like, there's a lot I don't understand, but I don't have to understand as long as I have discriminating ears, and I can set something down, decide whether it sounds good or not, figure out which parts don't sound good, change those parts until they all sound good. That's basically my process. Just start with some kind of seed like this, figure out what would go with it, figure out what would sound good, and just iterate for a while. But again, that's a very not on purpose process. Like, I've tried a few times to compose something to like get across a certain vibe or, you know, a certain kind of energy, but it always ends up somewhere else than where I start. I'm often happy with the results, but it just, I don't know how to do like a directed composition, but I'm hoping that that skill will come just as I do this more. I just need actual experience. Anyway, so this was fun. Next steps. One of the main things I want to do is get this in some more people's hands. More people, I say. Any people's hands who are not just me. I have two friends who have volunteered to try this out, so I'm just going to do a very small, like, send a build to 2 people and see, you know, if it launches on their computer, if they can figure out anything about the UI. In service of that, I did make this UI scalable in a very basic way. It looks real terrible when I do this. Like, look at that gross text. There are ways to make this look slightly less terrible. There are ways to make it look a lot less terrible. The way to make it look a lot less terrible is a lot of work, so it hasn't quite happened yet. These waveforms are drawn at whatever the actual size is, so they still look pretty good. There might be some minor sampling errors here and there, but they're close enough. And I have a hotkey here for if I mess with my window size and then I just want to know what it would look like at normal. So this old bad scaling, I don't know why I have that. I'm thinking I might have like 2 modes where one is this scale for like text and everything, but you know, like this graph would get wider, there'd be more space for stuff down here, the waveform would get larger, just adapt the layout to the available space would be nice. Then the other mode would be to pick a fixed layout like this and scale the entire thing all at once. Thinking I might end up with something like that once I decide what I'm actually doing with UI scaling, but anyway, yeah, so get this into some people's hands, make undo work on this screen and this screen, fix this, whatever happened when I tried to undo from there. That was fun. I'll have to see if I can reproduce that. Shouldn't be too hard. And yeah, just expand you look ugly. There we go. That's better. Expand the capabilities of this screen more, so I can actually use it for the instrument analysis thing. Yeah, so like I feel like some parts of my compositions are being held back by just how limited the types of instruments I can make with my synthesizer are, or at least that I understand how to make. Like drums in particular. I can make a bass drum sound. I can make a few different bass drum sounds. That's about it. You'll notice that's the only percussion in here. There aren't any other samples anywhere. Anyway, yeah, so figuring that out. Yeah, a bunch of other stuff. Just trying to get my to-do list shorter and seeing what happens as I do that. All right, so I'll see you next time with whatever has happened.